Today is the official start of our superhero comic book March Movie Madness Tournament. We've been talking about it since yesterday. If you follow me on Facebook, you know I've already put up the brackets. But today starts the tournament. Here's how this works. We're going to go through the tournament. We're going to list down the seeding and the matchups, and then you guys are going to go and vote on each matchup and tell us who advances to the next round. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can look in the description of this video, and right near the top of the description, you'll see the link where you go to vote on all the individual matchups. We're going to let you vote for about the next 36 hours, and then on Friday, we're going to announce the winners of round 1 and give you the brackets for round 2. So, as you know, we've got the top 32 teams, and let's bring up, first of all, the Nolan bracket. Here is the Nolan bracket. Now, I'm going to point something out here. The brackets and the seeding all took place from a mixture of me and some of the guys here at AMC ranking the films, but then also going online, measuring critic ratings, fan responses, and anticipation levels, and that's how we set up all the seeding. So there are some movies here that are seated lower than I would have them on my personal list, some that are seated higher, but you get the idea. So let's go down the seeds for the Nolan bracket. The number one seed in the Nolan bracket is The Dark Knight, and hold on a second, I'm going to bring up my my own individual graphic here, so I've got it right in front of me. The number 2 seed in the Nolan bracket is Spider-Man 2, and damn it, give me a second, I got to bring this up here. Okay, here we go. So Nolan bracket. Number 3 seed in the Nolan bracket is X-Men, the original X-Men film. The number 4 seed is the original Thor. The number 5 seed is Batman Begins. The number 6 seed is the original Christopher Reeve Superman movie. The number 7 seed is Man of Steel. The number 8 seed is Captain America, the First Avenger. The number 9 seed is Watchmen. Number 10 is the original Hellboy. Number 11 is The Dark Knight Rises. Seeded number 12 is Dread. Seeded number 13 is The Incredible Hulk. That's the one with Edward Norton. Number 14 is Punisher Warzone. Number 15 is Kick-Ass 2, and rounding out the seeding in the Nolan bracket is Iron Man 3. So, there's your seeds. They are now matched up in individual competition, which you can see behind me. We're going to run down now the individual starting matchups that you guys are going to be voting on. So let's look at matchup number 1. The first matchup in the Nolan bracket is going to be the number 1 seed, Dark Knight, versus the number 16 seed, Iron Man 3. Dennis, who are you going to vote for, and who do you think is going to advance?
This one's probably one of the easiest ones on here. While I did like Iron Man 3, I'm not a hater of it. I don't have any problem with the Mandarin character or anything like that. The Dark Knight is obviously a superior film to it. It's like one of the best comic book movies of all time. So I think that one's easily going to win, and that's the one I'm voting for.
Yeah, I got to say the same thing. While I also like Iron Man 3, I mean, how often does a number 1 seed in anything lose to a number 16 seed? Yeah. That ain't going to happen here. Obviously, a lot of people do have the problem with the Mandarin stuff. Yeah. Among other things, Dark Knight's so popular, Dark Knight Rises advances. Chris Lee, which one do you think is going to advance?
Dark Knight for sure.
All right.
I loved Iron Man 3. I thought it was fun and great and exciting, but the Dark Knight just does it for me.
All right, so you heard our picks, but the important thing is, what are you going to vote for? Once again, the link to the voting is in the description of the video. Let's move on to the second matchup. The second matchup down at the bottom of the bracket is Spider-Man 2 going against Kick-Ass 2. Much like the first one, I see this as a no contest. Spider-Man 2, one of the greatest comic book films ever made. Kick-Ass 2, I enjoyed, but got a mixed reaction. I can't see any way Spider-Man 2 loses this one. Dennis?
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 is going to win this easily, and I enjoyed both films, but Spider-Man 2 was on a different level than Kick-Ass 2. If it had been Kick-Ass 1 versus Spider-Man 2, I think it'd be a little bit closer, but yeah, or Spider-Man 3 versus Kick-Ass 2.
Yeah, that would be closer too. Spider-Man 3 did not make our top 32. All right, Chris Lee, who do you see winning this matchup?
I am 3's a charm again. Spider-Man for me.
All right, now we start to get, the matchups start to get a little bit tighter now. The next matchup is the number 3 seed, the original X-Men movie, against the number 14 seed, Punisher Warzone. I'm going to say this is going to be a cakewalk for X-Men simply because Not many people saw Punisher Warzone.
No.
And there are people who have problems with it. X-Men, the original X-Men, is the movie that revitalized and basically resurrected the whole comic book genre single-handedly. It's going to move on to the second round. Dennis?
X-Men easily. And Warzone, I actually watched off of your recommendation, and I thought it was decent.
Yeah,
you know,
I liked it.
It wasn't great, but it was decent, but it stands no chance whatsoever.
Crystal?
I'm going with X-Men, although I do love Punisher. I love all of the movies in the Punisher franchise, but I think X-Men will be the winner.
All right, let's move on to the next one. The number 4 seed, the original Thor film versus the number 13 seed, The Incredible Hulk, the one with Edward Norton. It's important to keep in mind that that's the one we're talking about. Once again, I like the Edward Norton Hulk, but Thor, to me, people who watch the show know that I actually like Thor more than the original Iron Man. So for me, this is Thor's matchup. Dennis?
I didn't like Thor as much as you did, even though I did really like it. But I still favor it over The Incredible Hulk, which I actually really liked with Edward Norton. And so I wouldn't have minded if Edward Norton stayed as that character. Mark Ruffalo's great as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think Thor's going to win it, but in my mind, the two movies are a little bit closer than most people think.
Crystal Lee?
I actually agree with Dennis. This is a tough one for me because I loved Edward Norton as Hulk. I mean, I prefer Mark Ruffalo now that we have him, but I would have to pick Thor if I have to pick a winner.
All right, the number 5 seed going against the number 12 seed here. We've got Batman Begins against Dredd. This is just bad luck for Dredd. I think Dredd is a really fun, entertaining, wonderful surprise of a movie. But Batman was ranked as low as the 5th seed. Dredd couldn't get ranked any higher than 12. It's got to go against Batman Begins. I can't see how Batman Begins loses this.
Batman Begins easily. And I'm also, like, for Dredd, I actually was not as hyped about it as you and some of the other people that saw it. I thought it was okay. So Batman Begins wins easily.
Crystal Lee?
Agreed 100%. I did not like Dredd at all. So Batman is easy for me for that one.
All right, now we get into the number 6 seed, the original, the revered Christopher Reeve's Superman, the movie, versus the number 11 seed, the third film in the Christopher Nolan franchise, The Dark Knight Rises. I think out of any in this bracket, this has the biggest potential for an upset as far as the lower seed beating the higher seed. But I'm still going to stick with the original Superman. I think there are too many people that had too many problems with the original, with The Dark Knight Rises. Superman, the movie, the original with Christopher Reeve, has a very special place in a lot of people's hearts. I think Superman rides this and wins, but there is big potential here for an upset. Dennis?
I think The Dark Knight Rises is going to win. Even though I'm not saying it's a superior film to the original Superman, I just think that even though there are a lot of criticisms, like the ones that I have and you have and other people, I think there's so much of a fan base, especially of Nolan and the Batman franchise, that people are going to vote for it no matter what, and it's going to beat Superman.
All right, Crystal Lee?
This is the hardest one for me yet because my heart for Superman is so big. But The Dark Knight Rises for me was just an amazing film that kept me entertained, that I completely have watched a million times. So I'm gonna have to go with Dark Knight Rises.
All right, so this is the first matchup. You can tell it's getting tight. The first matchup where we have disagreement on our panel. Remember, though, the important thing is how do you guys vote? All right, the number 7 seed against the number 10 seed. The number 7 seed, Man of Steel. Obviously, if it was just up to me, Man of Steel would get like a number 2 or number 3 seed, but it's in the number 7 seed against the original Hellboy. Don't be surprised if Hellboy wins. I'm still picking Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel will win, but a lot of diehard fans, Hellboy is kind of like the original Superman in the way it's got a very special place in certain people's hearts. Enough people's hearts? Probably not. Man of Steel is going to win, but again, ripe for an upset. What do you think?
I think Man of Steel is going to win. If it was against Hellboy 2, I loved Hellboy 2 a lot more than the first Hellboy.
A lot of people did, yeah.
And I would vote for that over Man of Steel, but because this is the original Hellboy, I think Man of Steel takes this.
Crystal Lee?
Well, as the chat board is well aware, I wasn't a huge fan of Man of Steel, so I have to pick Hellboy, but I loved Hellboy. I loved Ron Perlman. I loved the entire cast. I thought it was amazing, so Hellboy it is.
All right, and now down to the final matchup in this bracket. The number 8 ranked Captain America, the First Avenger, versus the number 9, The Watchmen. I'm going to go with Captain America, the First Avenger. I thought it was a better movie. And Watchmen is just one of those films that divide a lot of people. A lot of people really love it, and an equal amount of people really hated it. So just because of the split opinions and feelings on Watchmen, I think creates a path, an easy path even, for Captain America: The First Avenger. Dennis?
I personally like Watchmen more than Captain America. I really like the first half of Captain America, but I kind of a little dozed off for the second half. So even though I still liked it, I do think Captain America is going to win this one, even though I think Watchmen's a superior film.
Crystal Lee?
I actually agree with Dennis 100%. I would go with Watchmen. Captain America was good, but I felt like I was watching two different films at times. I felt like it was a little bit too long and a little bit maybe too much backstory. So I go with Watchmen for sure.
All right, folks, well, that'll do it for the Nolan bracket.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.